Welcome to this edition of Critter Chat. I'm your host, Raleigh Adams. Today we're going to want you to stay tuned because I have a special guest on the show, Debbie Dukeman, also known as the Rat Lady. Debbie, it's nice to have you on the show. Tell all of our listeners how you were first introduced to rats.
I actually got my first rat when I was about 10 or 12 years old, and the very strangest thing is that rat came from a laboratory where I ended up working and becoming the Rat Lady many years later. So my first rat I named Rufus, and he was just a white lab rat. And then it wasn't until I took a job at the university here in Chico, the California State University, that I took the job taking care of the rats in the psychology department, the same lab that my first rat came from. So I knew from way back when, that rats made wonderful pets. So I'd always wanted to work with animals somehow in my life, and I did end up working for some veterinarians over the years. And then this job opportunity came up to take care of the rats in the psychology department. And, before then, I actually had been managing our local humane society for 3 years. And it was a full-time job, and the job at the university actually paid the same amount of money for a half-time job plus benefits. So that was kind of a no-brainer to switch over from cats and dogs to rats. And then we would give the students the opportunity to take their rats home with them after the project. And then they would come back maybe a year or two later with questions about how to better take care of their rats. One thing that is very common in female rats is mammary tumors as they get older. And they are also very prone to respiratory infections. So I had to learn. I just decided I better learn as much as I can about rats, so I can, give the people the information they needed. And that is how I became the Rat Lady.
Well, one of the greatest ways of getting vital health and behavior care information out to rat lovers was your idea of the Rat Fan Club. How did that happen?
Yes, I started the Rat Fan Club in 1992. It started out as a monthly newsletter. This was way before the Internet, and so everybody would send in letters, and we would share information that way. And then when the Internet came along, I set up a website, and we now have a Facebook page, the Rat Fan Club Facebook page, that has nearly 14,000 members around the world. It's wonderful that we can talk rats with people all around the world. Technology has its good and bad points, but I tell you, it sure is helpful to be able to get good information to these rat owners, at a moment's notice. People have questions about their rats, questions about health care and treatment, and we're able to send them information instantly. It's just really amazing.
Well, Debbie, each of us has a very special rat that brought joy into our lives. And with you, that rat's name was Skin.
Yes, my most favorite rat was a hairless rat named Skin, funnily enough. I did not name him. He came with that name. He was a rescue boy. And I could not imagine why these people wanted to give him up, because he was so wonderful. He was so affectionate and friendly and just wanted to be with me all the time. And of course, I know a lot of people think the hairless rats are really weird looking, but I've always had this attraction to hairless animals. And I think one of the reasons is because you can actually see expressions on their face. Because as they raise or lower an eyebrow, you can see that, whereas it's harder to see that when their face is covered by fur. So hairless rats have always been about my favorites. And old Skin was about the favoritist of all.
Well, one of the great turning points in your life came as a result of the death of your very favorite special rat, Skin, which actually resulted in your finding your spiritual path.
Exactly, yes. At that time in my life, things were going great, but I just felt there was something missing, and I now know it was a spiritual connection with our Creator. And I started doing some exploration in different areas, different religious areas, And I actually met a woman who was a rat owner, so I met her through rats. And she started, she was a Christian, and she started telling me things that I was pretty reluctant to accept at the beginning. I actually was raised Catholic, and I didn't have a really good opinion of that religion, and so I really wasn't looking in that direction. But my friend Barbara pointed me to some different books and things, and then especially when Skin died from a horrible infection that the vet could not cure, and I was heartbroken. And that led me to books about life after death, and ultimately led me to the Bible and to an acceptance of Jesus.
Well, Debbie, finding your spiritual connection also changed your views about the question, do our rats go to heaven?
I think it's very clear in the Bible. It says that animals and people go to the same place, and that nothing that God does will be undone. And so I believe that these animals that die don't just poof out of existence. I believe that they will be there in heaven with us.
Well, Debbie, since the beginnings of the Rat Fan Club and the Rat Report, you've gotten a ton of questions. What seems to stand out as the most frequently asked question from rat parents?
One of the most common questions that I get from people is, how do I make my rat like me? Unfortunately, this is an unfortunate question because it means that they've probably gotten their rat from a pet shop, and the rat has not been properly socialized, and therefore the rat doesn't trust people. Most people don't realize that even puppies and kittens, they must be socialized to humans so that they will bond with us and see us as part of their family group. If that doesn't happen, then you get what you see in feral kittens. Feral kittens are those that are born out in the wild, and they're not handled by people at all, and so they don't see us as anything to be trusted. They're actually afraid of people. And unfortunately, this can happen with small pets as well. If they're not handled early enough in their life, they just don't know what people are all about. And so for rats, it's very important that they be handled from birth. That's the only way that they learn to trust us absolutely, and it makes a big difference. But even the ones that aren't handled from birth, they can still be socialized. They just need extra time and patience. And food works really well, too, because you can use food to teach them that people are trustworthy, that people bring good things, and that when they're around people, good things can happen. And so there are ways. And so on my website, which is ratfanclub.org, there's lots of information, including an article called Trust Training, which tells you how you can use food to gain the trust of a rat that hasn't been well socialized.
My guest today on Critter Chat has been Debbie Dukeman, also known as the Rat Lady. For more information about the Rat Fan Club or the Rat Report, go to their Facebook site at the Rat Fan Club or visit them online at www.ratfanclub.org. And that wraps up this edition of Critter Chat. I'm your host, Raleigh Adams.